We're good.
All right. Welcome to another Thursday night of the Guitar Gear Locker. My name is Alex Books, and this is my co-host, Mr. Roger Sutherland. And this is live show 36. And I believe I haven't been on the show in about a month, something
It's
like that.
been about a month for you, right?
Yeah. So
It's been a minute. You've been busy.
Yeah, glad to be back, and glad to be back on American soil too. And yeah. So
Well, before you get to the tour, we could tell Ian's on tonight. Hey, thanks for joining us, Ian. Ian Haas.
Ian, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, he's in here. Let me throw his comment up there. So
just so you know, the wireless the new piece for the wireless worked out perfect. Thank you so much. And it was nice to have my wireless back. So it worked out fantastic. So thank you, Ian, once again for that.
yeah, so I don't know if Ian realized I did this last time, but I didn't kind of blow him out of the water for where he worked because I figured maybe people would like stalk him in the comments or something. So I never said anything through the whole thing, and I told Rich afterwards.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think it's good to mention. I really appreciate Rich filling in for you while you were gone. He was great to have.
I really appreciate that. You know,
Yeah, and we're gonna have him on more often, and he and I offline, and you and I when you got back, we talked about maybe once a month having a little special episode with him, and he had some cool ideas to bring up. So yeah, so that'll be good. But so we missed the last. Well, you got back a couple weeks ago, and then we missed last week, and everybody doesn't know that you caught the creeping crud while you were out. You caught the tour crud.
Yeah. So long story short, we did it was about 2 weeks in Brazil. We did 9 shows. My band Immolation. Anybody doesn't know, and so we actually played a bunch of places we've never been to before. So the only 2 cities we have ever played there before, which was Sao Paulo, which was the last show, and that's one of the normal stops for Brazil, and Belo Horizonte we played. So we've done those 2 areas, but everywhere else has played some smaller places that don't usually get rock or metal, and
Right.
I have to say every show was amazing. Just amazing crowds and so it was a really cool, different experience, because because Brazil is not the place that you normally do a full tour. It's usually like you play 2 cities or something, if that, and then off someplace else in South America. So the tour was really awesome, and I want to thank Eduardo from Nervo Chaos for bringing us down there, and his hospitality, and the whole band of Nervo Chaos, just amazing people, and the crew. And I mean, and Eduardo is pretty much a guy that I think is really keeping the metal scene alive in Brazil. He's been doing this for a couple decades now, actually bringing bands down there. And,
Right.
Wouldn't work with anybody else. And he, besides business wise, he's family to us. And
Sure.
yeah, it was just really great time. And unfortunately at the end I got sick, so that's why it took me a while to get back on the show and where I can actually speak. And so that's not fun, getting sick. And but especially when you got to perform. Like, fortunately, it was maybe like the last 3 shows or 3 shows I think I played that I was like really sick, on stage.
See, I didn't even realize it was during the tour. I thought you got it like the last day or on the way home.
It was a few days before.
Oh, that sucks.
It was nothing worse when you got to perform super sick.
Yeah.
Show.
So how was the scene down there, like compared to other places that you've been?
Well, I'd have to say that the people, I have, just all the people we met, very respectful, very thankful and appreciative. There was even a guy, which is crazy. He drove his motorcycle 12 hours to come and see us play. So we found out about this guy. We went outside, took photos with him and stuff, signed his stuff. Really nice guy. And that's dedication, and the thing is, there's a lot of those places we played, like I said, don't normally get, heavy music,
Right.
whether it's hard rock or metal,
Right.
going through some of those areas. So it was really, really cool experience. And like I said, how thankful the people were, um, and appreciative of us
Yeah.
coming,
Yeah.
and, my wife being, she's from Panama, but, she knows the scene down there. And she's just like, people are very appreciative when you come down, and
Right.
play. And definitely let us know. And yeah, so it was a great show. It was definitely a really cool set list that we did too, because it was played a bunch of old, songs that don't normally get played live,
Right.
um, so that was cool. We had a, mixed bag of like old school stuff and new stuff. So it was a really cool and challenging set list. We didn't even practice too. So
And that's what I was going to bring up. That says a lot about you all, that you didn't even practice leading up to this. And normally you all do that. You all just went there and threw down.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't the easiest set to play. It was a pretty challenging set. So we pulled it off. Once we got out of the first show, I knew everything was going to be fine. And there's
Right.
always little screw ups here and there. And but yeah, it really came together really well.
Right.
And yeah, and also to plug Eduardo's band, Nervo Chaos, an amazing band that been around for, I think they're I think for what he explained to me, I think it's like they got like a 30-year anniversary coming up. So they've been around for 30 years in
Oh,
Brazil.
wow.
Just awesome dudes and great band. And so if anybody gets to see Nervo, which they do a lot of touring, go and check them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, how is so the the metal scene in South America as a whole is pretty big, right? How is Brazil compared to the rest?
Um, I mean, Brazil's, I would say as passionate as any of those other countries down there.
Right.
It's Brazil's such a huge place, so
Right.
when like I said, when you do go down there, it's like maybe 2 cities that you play, so we got to see some areas we've never seen before. Even, we did a tour in a bus, in a nightliner, so, usually you fly every day, so it was interesting, on the bus, and you get to see the country more, you know, by doing that, it's not like
Right.
you're on an airplane traveling to the next city.
And I guess that puts it in better perspective too, because when you were saying it's, these are people that don't normally get these concerts brought to them because Brazil is so big, and usually you all or whichever band would fly into one or two places, and if you weren't there, you're not going to get the benefit of seeing these bands. So you all actually got to go there and see a lot of the country.
Yeah, yeah, and we're talking about doing a part 2 of it and go this another parts of Brazil that we didn't hit, so
Right.
so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it was
cool.
it was a great tour. It was good to kind of get back, after a long break of not really playing in a band situation, and and seeing the fellas, and getting together. And it's funny because once we do play together, it's just like, okay, all right, dust the cobwebs off, and we're
Right.
usually ready to go. And everybody does their homework at home, so we're
Yeah.
all of us are always prepared.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it was really good, and we definitely have some right now. Hopefully, we have something else that happens towards the end of the year. But we got some really great stuff for next year, or it's already in the works. So we got some really great stuff on the horizon coming up, and as well as new album. So
Yeah. Yeah.
new album in the works as well.
Yep. Did you all get to do any work on that while you're out? I'm joking. Figured you'd be in the bus like riding away.
And I tell you, it was great playing the new guitar too on the
Yeah, that's right.
it was really man, the guitar plays so good and sounds great, and yeah, it was cool, you know, to break in a new
Right.
act on the road,
Right.
and everybody liked it. I was surprised sometimes with the color situation. I was really surprised that everybody was, oh man, that thing is gorgeous.
But you know
Ancient,
what? I think you can't go wrong with candy apple red, right?
man, beautiful.
I think every kid when they grow up, they wanted a, you know, back in the day, they wanted a candy apple red bicycle. We wanted a candy apple red car. There's
Yeah,
no way you could go wrong with a candy apple red guitar.
yeah,
No, it looked good. It looked, I mean, it looked different for you being on stage. You know,
yeah.
like, 'cause you know, we talked about it before. We've seen you with the olive drab green, like the military green,
Mhm.
or black, and
Yeah,
then seeing you up there, well, and white
yeah,
occasionally.
right.
But the
I did.
red was different, but it was a good different, I thought,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
cool guitar.
Yeah, great guitar, and it was a lot of fun playing that guitar every night.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
so like tour was
we were talking earlier, you haven't had everybody, you said you were sick. You haven't had a chance to play since you've been home.
I still haven't played. Maybe tonight
Yeah,
though.
that's
We'll see, or tomorrow.
yeah, for
Either,
anybody, like, when he said he's sick, he's been sick. I
yeah,
think we've only talked since you've been back, we've only talked, like, twice.
yeah. We usually I pretty much play guitar, you know, even if it's just for 30 minutes every day, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very rarely that I don't pick up the guitar for a couple weeks. So I haven't played the guitar since the last show in San Paulo.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
But tomorrow night, we have a date. We're playing tomorrow night.
Yeah, me and Roger are.
We're gonna have a concert, an online concert of something. So what else you got going on?
Well, hopefully I get the Shadows record finished up soon and plan on getting that done. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see, you know, but
What's your goal for that? I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer, but what do you all like set a goal? Like I want to have it done by October or December,
we,
whatever.
well, usually you do, but it just hasn't worked out that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put this up. He won't believe it, but we talked about him yesterday.
Ah,
Welcome back to you, Cheesy Cheech. We were like, where's he been? Isn't that funny? We just talked about him yesterday. It's like,
he was
where's
in
he
Brazil.
been?
He was in Brazil.
Yeah, he was in Brazil with you guys. Yeah. Welcome back. We appreciate you joining us. So
You know what's
I'm
actually
sorry.
pretty cool is I don't we talked about this, but this weekend is that final Black Sabbath gig, and with that huge lineup over in England.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but
I heard something about it earlier today, actually.
yeah, so it looks like you know, it's the end. You know, it's the last time to see the four of them. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
Ozzy, he's not doing too well. You know,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna try. I pretty sure that you can pay for it to stream it live. You know,
Right.
so I may do that. You know, and
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up and see if I can.
where would rock music and metal be without Black Sabbath? It'd be a totally
Right.
different world if it wasn't for those four guys getting together.
Yeah, it's so hard seeing it, like all the people we've lost in the last year to 2 years, and then, you know, not that we're losing them, but they're hanging it up, and a lot of people, a lot of important people to music and entertainment over the years, especially in our generations, are calling
Yeah,
it a day.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and some, in all fairness, probably should have called it a day about 10 years ago.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
Black Sabbath, but some, and not Ozzy. I mean, Ozzy's still, hell, he's still mainstream on the radio with newer stuff.
Well, you know, I got to see that last tour, Black Sabbath. I saw them in over in what was it, Camden, New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
It's I it might have been called a tweeter then. I can't remember, but that was maybe that was in 2017, something like that, 16.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember. Um, and I, you know, Ozzy sounded great. He was he sang like in his like he didn't do too much high stuff. He just kind of kept it in a certain range, and he kept it
Right.
together the whole show. But they were they were amazing. You know, obviously we were missing Bill Ward there, but yeah, they
Right.
were. It was great, and Ozzy sounded great.
Well,
So,
it's funny because we've talked in the past about Gene Simmons kind of being a marketing genius with the stuff that he does, but Ozzy is too. The things that I think he markets his voice very well, and he works with, like, now, I told you not long ago that I was listening to an interview. He's working with these younger producers that are
mhm.
out and current now and doing new things at his age and at this point of his career.
I like a couple of the songs in the last two records he did.
Yeah.
It was like one with Jeff Beck. I think Jeff Beck played on like two
Yep.
songs.
Yep.
Um, another legend icon that is gone.
Yeah.
I was
Yep.
fortunate to see him. Is one of his last tours. Me and my wife had front row tickets. We still have his sweat rag.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have I have Jeff Beck's DNA in my house.
Yeah.
So we have that upstairs, actually. But yeah, a couple of songs,
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, the early Ozzy solo records. I mean, obviously the first two with Randy Rhoads, and
Sure.
then the other two with Jake, great. But
Right. Right.
I'm not like the biggest Ozzy solo guy, except for the early stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
perfection. But yeah, I heard a couple songs I thought were pretty good.
Yeah.
I
I
enjoyed.
just think it's I mean, it's obviously not the early stuff, but I think it's cool hearing somebody at his age, and his health isn't awesome either, that he's still, in the last year or two, whatever, is still recording things.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, then who did I hear? Oh man, this has nothing to do with rock, but I guess this is kind of the future of what where music is going. Hopefully not. But I was listening to somebody on an interview yesterday while I was out doing some work, and they were talking about, I think Dolly Parton is recording a lot of stuff a lot of different ways, like a lot of words, a lot of phrases, and things like that, a lot of different ways. So after she's gone, it could be manipulated into songs if they want to.
Mm.
I just and it wasn't a fake story. It was like a real news-ish story, like
Yeah, I,
entertainment news.
I saw she did something with, I don't know if it was Nikki Six from Motley Crue, which is kind of
Yeah,
bizarre. And I mean, Dolly Parton, come on, she's an
she's a
American,
legend, man.
and
She's a legend, and she's just a genuine good person. You
she
know.
seems that way. I think she's been married to the same man for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah, he actually just passed away.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Yeah, 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 just a genuine, but I thought it was interesting, and they said that more of the older, singers are doing that. They're just recording things different ways so it can be remanipulated into songs, so
Mhm.
through AI.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and
The
then
AI a little. I don't know what
well,
AI being creative.
while you were gone, two guitar players quit their bands because of AI issues.
Huh?
One was Plush's guitar player, Bella.
Huh?
She quit because of some behind the scenes crap, but it had to do with AI. And then Evanescence, their guitar player, quit because of AI.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are just fed up with it.
Yeah.
Then
Well.
somebody made like a little weird reference today, and I don't know how true it is, but there's a band out now. I mentioned them a couple weeks ago, kind of just joking around, Sleep Token.
Mm,
Just kind of messing around a couple weeks ago with it when Rich and I were talking. And somebody made like a little hint today that they may be AI. I don't know how true that was. I mean, nowadays when you see shit on the internet, you don't know if it's true or made up. So I don't know if that was made up or not, but I mean, I could see it. I mean,
yeah. I just anything with AI and being creative and art, I just find something wrong with that.
yeah,
Whether it's artwork or it's creating music with AI, that defeats the whole purpose of what art is.
Yep.
And I'm not a fan. I'm sure there's things with AI that can be beneficial, but when it comes to expressing yourself, pouring your heart out with
Yeah.
music, or creating something with a paintbrush, you know,
Yep.
yeah, I don't see anything. It's not art to me.
I think what worries me, and this is just as a regular guy, not as a performer like you guys or anything, but there could be, in my opinion, just as a regular guy, it seems the corporate greed that's out there, especially in the recording industry, they could just say, wow, we make this much money now. We can just cut everybody out and make all the money and just have AI, bands, like
Yeah,
fictitious bands, fictitious music, all made up. I mean,
yeah.
it may be far-fetched, but it probably isn't,
Well,
unfortunately.
there's like this. It's a channel on YouTube. It's been on for years, and it's a Cannibal Corpse AI thing. So
Uh-huh.
it's just constantly going, and it's like making its own version of Cannibal Corpse songs, and it's
Really?
constantly changing. It's really bizarre and crazy and a little scary.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
I heard it. It's funny because we didn't plan on talking about this. It just kind of happened. But I told you I listen to a lot of crap to keep myself busy and here while I'm wrenching on guitars. And it was just this morning I was listening to like a radio show, and one of the guys on there was talking about AI, and he said, "Watch this," and he just mentioned like, "I want a song that sings about this, and it's this genre, blah 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 blah," and it spit out a song, like played a song. It
Yeah.
it was scary. Not scary, boohoo scary or boo scary. It's scary to know that things are that advanced nowadays that they can do what it artists are doing, and have been doing.
Yeah. Well,
Weird stuff. Hopefully not.
any way to screw us, they'll do it.
Yeah. Well,
Big
you know what? This is the new Napster.
What's that?
This is the new Napster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
AI is like the new Napster,
I mean, you know, I don't wanna boo-hoo, but, musicians have been getting screwed for decades and decades now, you know?
Well, I think, I mean, that's happened since the beginning, right? Some of
Yeah.
have gotten through. I've seen it, probably I always say, like, Smashing Pumpkins is one of my favorite bands, and they probably are, and I have not, but I think one of my all-time favorites, and it's probably because 'cause I'm a Marylander, I'll admit that, is Kix. And Steve Whiteman has been on, he now has a podcast, he and another guy, I think he was in Kicks also, and he's been talking about, a lot of record industry things, and those guys really, I mean, talk about coming out the other side with, like, not rich, for sure, and they
Yeah.
were big, big for a while.
I It's funny you bring them up because I thought about you. They came up on some random stuff on YouTube about
Yeah,
Kick, and, so I didn't realize that how popular they were in Maryland when, especially, and how long they had been around, like, because they, they were around for years before they
yeah,
even had a hit, struggled,
yeah.
compared to those other bands at that time,
Well, they
and yeah,
kinda played this whole area. There used to be, you probably heard of it up in Philly, but in Baltimore, there was a place called Hammerjacks, and they used to
played there
freak
many years ago. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Hammerjack.
yeah, they used to frequent Hammerjacks,
Mhm.
and, let's see, he said they used to run with, Great White and a lot of those hair bands, and I think when they finally made it big is when Nirvana came out, and it's kinda
I
just bad
remember
timing.
playing the club scene in Philly in the '80s
Yeah,
too, so I
yeah.
do remember.
Well, and it's kinda like we knew about them, in the earlier '80s, pretty fast in Maryland because they were running between Baltimore and Hagerstown, and Steve Whiteman is from, just over, like, on the other side of Potomac River into West Virginia, a place called Piedmont, West Virginia, which my dad is from the next town over, like, miles away, so kinda cool little link there, but, yeah, they were kinda like the home guys, and I don't know if you know, maybe I don't want to blast this out here, but one of them may or may not be married to somebody whose parents live in our county. So, yeah, so it's kind of cool to see them, kind of come up and run around Maryland and then see them hit the big and hear them now. You don't realize all the things that were going on behind the scenes back then, and that, like you said, like everybody along the way had their money or their hands in their pocket taking their money.
Mhm.
So he said by the time you get your 15%, then you have to pay everything out of your 15%. Like there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Hey, look who joined.
Hey,
Hey,
Rich.
man. How you doing? Good to see you dropping by. So it was great having him. We mentioned it earlier. I guess maybe you saw some of that.
Mhm.
So we're gonna get with you and get some plans for the future.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you wanted to talk about is that, well, it's nothing for me to talk about PRS. You wanted to this time. It's not me. So the new Herman Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted to talk about that? Is this a good time?
Well, I came across it by accident a couple days ago, and what I was, I
You want
thought
me to
was
pop it up on the screen?
sure. What I thought was pretty interesting was, PRS to me is like a company that's kind of like Gibson, where they make, traditional guitar that they make, and they don't really do anything that's too modern.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Obviously, I would consider PRS more modern components on the guitar than say a Gibson or something like that. But
Right.
so if anybody knows, Herman Lee is a guitar player of the band DragonForce from the UK. The guy's a shredder, pretty insane guitar player.
Hey,
So
Dwight, thanks for joining us.
yeah, so PRS put out a signature, and the guy was with Ibanez for many years, from what I understand. And this guitar is, wow. I was just kind of surprised to see a guitar like this. And one of the things you mentioned, hello Dwight, that you mentioned about the guitar too, Roger, because when I look at it, it's a PRS because you got the headstock,
Uh-huh.
and then it's a looks like an Ibanez Saber. I think that's a real thin body.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what they were called, and with a Music Man.
Yeah. It's like
You
somebody
know,
smashed those three worlds together.
it's just crazy to see a PRS with a thin body like that. It's like a super thin
Yeah.
body, and it's obviously it's built for
Yeah.
extreme fast playing, and I'll have to take a look at it if
Yeah,
you have.
and I wanted you to get through with your description
But
first,
yeah,
and I'll put it up here.
it's a interesting guitar to see
You know,
PRS. You
and
know,
it's different. I'm gonna throw a couple comments up, and then I'll project it up. Richard said, "Thanks for letting him sub and hanging out with me. It was great having him hang out." Then Ian, it has the thinnest body. Yeah. Oh, he's
oh,
actually felt one. Yeah.
you got to check it out. I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, and Ian, feel free to jump in here. So I'm gonna project it up, and I mean, I just think that this is really, man, my mouse gets weird on this.
And I think it's like a set-in neck too. I
Yeah,
think.
there's a lot of interesting things with this.
Yeah.
So when you just kind of look at it, you could tell how thin it is down here. And I
Mhm.
saw somebody going over this earlier. It's like, I think it was either half an inch or an inch. I think it may be a half an inch.
Hmm.
Ian can correct me if I'm wrong. Trying to go from memory, but right in this area. But it's so thin, to get that five-way switch in there, they had to build it up, or not
And
build it up, but
also, you see
it's,
where the jack goes to, where the
excuse
cable
me?
goes, the
Yep.
cable jack.
Yeah, and I'll scroll through here in a second, but it it has a lot of, again, this is so far out of the box for PRS as a company.
Yeah.
Um, there's another. They have all kinds of cool pictures of it. There is.
And he's playing Fishman's. And I
Yeah,
think that's a Godot bridge actually on there
it
too.
is. Yep.
Yeah.
And I can't get any good. See, I have to look at a different screen to see it.
Gotta
Yeah,
love that
so that
combination. That's the Dave Murray combination, the hum single coil, you know.
yeah, and I saw and I won't mention him, but another reviewer was kind of doing a deep dive on this earlier, and he was talking about the single in the middle, how it is set down lower than the two humbuckers, and he thinks that they kind of balanced out the power on these pickups, so that could set lower so you don't end up hitting it,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. But the other thing is you notice right here, I think, yeah, you can see my mouse up there. All
Mhm.
right, so the way that the body is carved on this, because they still tried to hold true to that violin cut that they're famous for, but
Mhm.
sometimes when you get this recessed Floyd type of bridge, you can't get a detuna on it because it hits that little recess part right there. But the
Oh,
way the body falls off on this and the way that screw comes straight out, you could probably still get a detuna on here without it hitting in the route.
mhm.
So that was pretty well thought out. I mean, this is a well planned out guitar, as you can see. So
Yeah.
here's kind of when you take that much material away from the body, you have to make room for switches and
Yeah.
electronics. The
One thing I
inlay work.
didn't miss is, do you know what the specs are? Is the body, like, what is the body? Is that a
I
mahogany?
you know
Is it
what? I don't know, but we'll go back to that. But
Yeah.
look at this. I mean,
Wow.
look how many things you have going on the back of this. Let's
Yeah.
let Ian chime in.
Yes.
It's all hand sanded, which is part of the reason for the limited number. Right, the Goto Bridge was great and had their stabilization on it. Single coil was out of the way too. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And he
Huh.
said that I guess they did something with the power, or maybe it's just the inherent power of that single coil, which is probably the same one we put in yours and I'm going to put in mine. That they were able to drop it down a little bit to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of carving and sanding back here. It's insane.
It looks comfy though, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, especially back in here. I mean, that is
Yeah.
headstock. So ebony fretboard, ebony laminate on the headstock.
Uh-huh. In the body, do we know what that is, or
I'm gonna scroll
arm?
down. I have to go back to the am I at the beginning again? Let's see. I was hoping we get a better yeah, I guess it I was trying to get a better look at the end. So right here on the back of it, the input jack goes into the body.
Yeah.
So also up here, there, I don't know if you saw this. Of course, you right there is where you plug it in to recharge the battery.
That's for the
Uh,
Fishman, right? Is that
correct.
yeah.
Yep. So these two switches right here, one is to override the tone. So it's volume only, you override the tone, and one is to lock in one of the voicings.
Huh.
So that's pretty cool too. Let
Yeah.
me see if we can get to the specs. Fishman Fluence Omniforce pickups.
I guess his signature.
Solid body. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it's
Maple mahogany.
all right, so yeah.
I like that. Top carve, sculpted. I'll say that's an understatement of the century. 24 fret, 25 and a half.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's satin nitro. The satin nitro looks good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Godo. I mean, some of these things, if you're a fan of PRS, it's just like, wow, that is so out of the norm for them of what we're used to seeing.
I mean, I gotta say that's one guitar company that makes damn good guitars. I can't really say nothing bad about it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And let's see. I want to get to. We have McCosmic. big strap pins. Yeah, big strap pins, and this comes stock with Dunlap strap blocks too.
Okay.
They come with it. Yeah, Gene says those strap buttons are huge. Anything to distract from the fact Herman Lee memes along to a recording on stage. So, wait, I need to remember. Did you see the clip of the other guitars from DragonForce that got knocked off, revealing his bald head? He bent down to pick it up. Off while they're miming. That's hilarious. So I don't know if you saw this, but so it's kind of interesting, like in the nerdy stuff in this. So he's been playing a prototype for a while, and there's videos of him. I guess he does this
He
little
broke.
this little hip fling thing where he flings it with his hip and he
Yeah.
snapped the neck off. So they had to go back and redo their neck joint. So the neck joint actually goes further back into the pocket, like way back into the neck pickup cavity where it glues back there to make it super strong.
Yeah.
So, and then he showed him testing that out. So yeah, he's doing the
Like, what,
so and
what a way, I guess he he tested it well, you know.
yeah, and I mean, I think it's cool. You know, you know how I feel about those guitars. I think they've gotten a little bit expensive, but I have one. It's probably going to be my last one because of the price point they are now. But man, I just so I don't know if I ever told you this when I first decided I wanted to go into business doing this. Like one of the things I wanted to do in the beginning is I wanted to offer things to put in somebody's case. Like if you had your PRS serviced, you know, some stickers or whatever. So I reached out to several companies. This was like right as I was firing up. And PRS was one of the coolest ones to deal with. Of course, they're right in our backyard. So they sent me stickers and pics and all kinds of things. And I just felt like, you know, they kind of get it, you know, because, you know, you need to keep the guitars playable, keep people playing. They buy more guitars. They kind of get it. Dario sent stuff to, oddly enough, they would never take me on as a dealer, but they sent stuff. But PRS just kind of got it. And, you know, I've talked about the PRS experience that I went to back when they used to do that before COVID. And man, it's just a great organization, great builder. The people there take, as you can see, I mean, that guitar is an example. They really take pride in their product. Sometimes now, okay, I'll say, you know, you can't be all, you know, roses with it, everything. I think sometimes when I see them as a tech, sometimes I think that there are things that are a little, Paul Reed Smith wouldn't think this and wouldn't like that somebody saying it, but maybe a little over engineering on it. Their earlier pickups, well, I've had some of those. I didn't really like the TNB pickups. I like the fact that they're, you know, exploring the Fishmans and putting those in them. The things they've done with John Mayer is kind of cool. But, you know, I think it's kind of neat how they, you know, get out of their comfort zone and go different ways. Like you said, this is like a smash up of like 3 different guitars.
Yeah. I didn't catch the Music Man until you mentioned that to me on the phone.
Yeah, that Longhorn in the top, it kind of reminds me of the Music Man, and you know, the Ibanez is how thin it is, but yeah, cool guitar. And I guarantee you they're gonna sell every one of them, and I guarantee you a year from now they're gonna be double the price.
Yeah.
And they're already, what is it, 68?
Oh, is that what they're
Around there.
68? Okay.
I think.
I guess when you got, I guess that's around the ballpark for a lot of custom shop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now a run of the mill. I think when I got mine's a Core Custom 22, and it's a 2018 when I got that. And that was $3,200, and I thought that was insane back then.
Yeah.
But now that, I mean, if you get that same guitar brand new, they're 4,500 maybe. Then if you
Mhm.
get you know, some of the wood libraries and all that, they're up in. I saw one today that came up in my feet. It was like 12 grand.
Mhm.
So they're good guitars, but I mean, and they play. I think they have a. You've played mine. They have a different feel to it. It's hard to explain. They.
Mhm.
I always call it like a tighter feel to it. But a lot. You could make that guitar with different woods too that aren't as beautiful and maybe bring the price down. They make
Yeah.
good guitars, you know, that the ones that are imported are good. Sometimes they just don't use the same materials. Richard
Yeah.
Carr. PRS amps. No,
Oh,
I haven't.
I'm curious though. I've seen some videos of guys using them, but
Yeah.
no, I have not.
Yeah.
You have any experience with those PRS amps, Rich?
If that would be the only one he doesn't have if he doesn't have one. Yeah, I know people that have them and they like them.
I think the guitar player of Creed,
Uh-huh.
he, I think he has like a signature. I could be wrong. I mean, I know he's a PRS guitar player, but I thought I saw something that he has.
Oh, yeah, he does, and
Yeah, yeah. But
so
yeah, I mean, great company, no doubt. You know.
yeah, yeah, and again, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but I like some of the things, I know not everybody is crazy about the input jack or output jack, you know, going down into the body like that, and, you know, people have made a couple offhand lewd comments about it.
And as far as performing live, I would say it's a little bit more, durable. Maybe doing something like that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, this is, I think for Herman Lee, this is all about function, and not. I don't necessarily think he was going like, "Hey, there's a little, you know, weird little hump back there."
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard said, yeah, and you know what? I'm glad.
And
Sometimes it's so hard to think of names when you're on a show like this, doing it live. Mark Tremonti is like right
Mhm.
on the tip of my tongue. I'm glad he kicked it in. And let's see, the birds are so divisive.
I guess the
Uh,
inlay.
I just can't commit to a bird guitar. Wait a minute. Wait, is he
Oh,
making?
the
No,
in the inlays. You know.
you
Uh,
know, so I can tell you, like, every Marylander wishes that every fret on that fretboard had a Maryland flag as an inlay. We're so crazy about our flag. We don't want birds, but I think there's a story to the birds. I think it has something to do with his mom, right?
oh, I don't know.
And I think there was something that, like, all of the birds are like different types of birds. I used to, when I first got into PRSs, I thought it was just like one specific type of bird in just different various stages of flight. But I think it
Mm,
had something to do with his mom. I forget the whole story. I'm getting old. I forget shit.
yeah.
Let's see what else. All right, so I had you know, some things that I've seen that, you know, I've been swamped, so I haven't had a time to kinda do like I normally do, like scroll through and look at up all these things, but there, you know, Elliot Easton from, the Cars. Wait a minute, let's finish our birds here.
Mhm.
I like the idea of it, I just personally don't want one. I think they should make more models without. They do. Yes, each of the birds is a different species. It is a little known fact. Yeah, so he knows about the birds, and it's something with his mom. So my daughter has the Paul Allender PRS, and it has bats instead of birds.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, you can get. I think some of them still have. They look like dots, but they're half moons.
mm,
So those were on the earlier ones, and then he went to the birds. Um, so yeah, maybe if there was, you know, if they, I think so you can get different ones. It's just gonna cost you. Like it'll do whatever you want on. Have you
That'll be
seen the long dragon one?
that'll
Oh,
be
sweet.
15,000. Well,
Oh
like
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen like the high-end ESPs where they have all the dragons going through the
Oh
color.
yeah.
It's
Yep.
insane, like, you know,
Yep.
you know.
McCosmic, they will do any kind of inlays you want if you have the greenbacks.
Yeah. So I said 15
Oh,
grand at least.
really like the bat inlays. Yeah, so it's I don't know if you look up the Paul Allender, he did it on that one, and I think that's a SE version. Uh, yeah, yeah. So, and I think the bats on the fretboard was just a cool, like it was my daughter. She got it because it was purple and it was her favorite color, but it had bats, which made it extra cool for her. So yeah, so Elliot Easton from the Cars this week said something that was kind of actually like yesterday or the day before. He's kind of talking about the entry model Epiphones and Fenders, and saying, "Hey, nowadays these more affordable guitars are being made so well. If you get them set up properly, you can get them to play in the ballpark of a higher end guitar." And he said, let me
Sure.
pull up here. Yeah, and we've talked about a lot of that. I just thought it was interesting. So he said the Epiphone and Squire guitars that you get now with a good setup will play and sound very close to the more expensive version. So buy based on your budget and buy the best one you can get, because you won't grow tired of it. You always play it and it'll always be good. I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes, and I've said this a million times, I got caught in that pitfall that some of us get caught into, like, well, if I spend more money, it's got to be easier to play, or it's got to sound better, it's got to be whatever, but that's not always the case.
Not always the case. Yeah. That's for sure.
Okay, they are very big bats. He said, no. You see, he approves of the bats. Yeah, that's kind of a cool looking guitar. I'm sorry to go back to amps, but the Arch Arms are
Any
cool.
do.
But I'll take a stealth. And yeah, I like my stealth. I like the stealth a lot. I told you I've recently got a new customer who is a Nashville session person and very, very good guitar player. And he hooked up to that. And it was, if anybody saw my social media, it was that Zion that I did from, it's from the 80s. It was one of his original. He said it's been on a lot of famous recordings. But he hooked into that stealth out there. He liked it a lot. So,
Mhm.
and he said he had always heard they were a little too aggressive, but man, he was dialing in some interesting sounds on that with a couple of the pedals that I have.
Mm.
So yeah, I like the stealth a lot. I'm happy with. I'm happy you steered me to that. My wife probably wasn't, but so yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Like Elliot Easton from the Cars kind of pointed out what we've talked about before. Like you don't
Mhm.
always have to break the bank, and I see that a lot. I've seen it a lot, especially. Well, I mean, lately I've had we have some killer bass guys in this area that are like the bass equivalent of the guitar nerds that we are, but really nice basses. And I've had in the last couple weeks 10 or 11 come through that some of them were really, really nice.
Mm.
So, yeah, but I mean, we talk about it a lot. Like, some of these, like back behind me is an older EVH, a standard and a Wolfgang standard, and I just put a block in that. And I mean, you can get those things pretty affordably out there right now, and put a block in it, do a couple things, get a good setup on it, um, and good to go.
Yeah.
The Squires are getting better. I
Yeah.
mean, and some of that stuff, I don't know if you've been watching it, and we talk about this a lot too, is the sales.
Mhm.
Man, there's some crazy sales going on right now.
Yeah. I've seen.
Yeah. So it looks like the secondhand market is I've seen fewer things out there on the secondhand market. There's still some good deals out there, but the new market seems to be coming around. So, which is good.
Yeah.
We were afraid of what these tariffs were going to do and all that stuff, but it seems like companies may be figuring it out, which is kind of what you and I were hoping for.
Yep.
The other one, did you see the Ibanez RGA Premiums?
No, let me see. Let me check.
Yeah, let's
what we got here.
Trying to sell some stuff on Facebook. No one wants to use guitar unless, yeah, there is some of that. But they always, you have to admit, they always want to trade.
Yeah.
So, somebody hit me up yesterday, and this was a Craigslist, but I've seen it. I have personally had this happen on Facebook Marketplace, where you have something for sale out there, and people will try to trade things that go pew pew. They try to trade those.
What is it? Trading what?
Well, I didn't want to say the word. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what YouTube would do with that if they, I don't know what the algorithm would say. But yeah, no, and it hasn't happened once or twice. It's happened multiple times, and I'm sitting here going like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable with that. I've had it happen to me. Yesterday it's literally out on Craigslist. It said, what did he call it? A 2A nightstand thing or something. It was listed just like, I'm looking to trade for a 2A, which is, he's talking about that, and nightstand. So I was like, I think, because somebody asked me like, what does this mean? I said, I think he's talking about one of those, and it would go in your nightstand. But it'd be my luck, I would trade somebody for one of those, and God forbid they went out and like robbed the bank with it. Then I'm stuck with it and no guitar, and I'm in jail.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
this hey Daniel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Take care. And what did Richard say? Pew pew equals super soaker 50. Right. Yeah. I didn't know how else to say it, but like I said, if it happened once, and they're always looking for AR style, and I'm like, I don't need to trade for these. A gun for that? I get it. Like, I may or may not have some of those, but I don't want to trade them for a guitar. Happens a lot since COVID. I had a buddy get rid of a bunch of guitars and then trade his Arsenal for a much better. Yeah, and I get it. And I think nowadays, especially here in Virginia, what we see, because it's a 2A state and open carry state, is people are trying to get things traded that are off the record, so to speak.
Not good.
Yeah, for me, it's just, I don't feel comfortable with it. Kind of makes you reluctant to meet up with a person since they randomly bring up they're trying to get. I didn't think of that. He brings up he's looking for. Well, I guess if he's looking for one of those, then you would be bringing it to the party. So unless he had one too, then it would be a loud party.
Yeah.
I don't know. None of it sounds really interesting to me. It sounds a little shady, but hey, people do it, and I'm sure that, I mean, there are guys that collect those. If there's a guy, they will collect something, and I know plenty that collect those. We collect guitars, cars. It goes without saying, we're collectors. All right, so the Ibanez, let me share it up. I think I just started seeing this yesterday. Let's see. Oh, can you see that?
Yeah. So it looks like
over here so I can see it.
So it looks like a Joe Satriani. There's like a telly shape.
Yeah, and this may. I think we're talking about this one here, and now I can't see what I pulled up the wrong one, actually. Hold on a second. get back to you without backing myself out. I hit the wrong one. That was it, but I had a better one. Sorry for the delay. It's Roger having technical difficulties.
What is the name of this? It's a series, or it's just a.
Is that the same one?
Yep.
Oh God.
New signature guitars.
Yeah. That made. I think that. Oh no, I got it. The RGA Premium. There you go. Can you see that?
So I'm not the biggest. I'm not super educated on Ibanez and their series and tiers of guitars. So premium, these are.
So this is Satriani, the Basilio, and the RGA Premium, which I believe is that one right there. And I had, you know what? I had it pulled up, not because Ian's with us, but because
they're Japanese, then, right? So these are the
Japanese.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Let's see if it's gonna. Sometimes it doesn't.
It looks like it's kind of like an arch top, like a horizon, I guess, or
yeah.
Well, at least I can see in the photo.
I was trying. I'll have it here in a second. I was trying to find the right one to share up. Yeah, I can't find it on their site. Hold on. Wait, let me get my $10 off. Bear with me. I'm almost here. While you were gone, I didn't get any better at this. There we go.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah. And that's a
Japanese
guitar for $16.99 if it's Japanese.
I would say that can't be Japanese, right?
Yeah, I thought it said something. I don't know. It should tell you on there, right?
I would think. DiMarzio's.
Is there a way to look at the back of the neck? Is there an image?
Oh, yeah, right there.
There you go. I can't see. Is that say? I can't.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
Yeah.
Or I mean, there's an I there. Is that for Indonesia?
Maybe it's maybe it is in Indonesia.
Yeah, and see, I've worked on a ton of, especially he may be watching, but I have a customer that has a lot of old Ibanez, and he is like an expert on Ibanez guitars. And I still haven't gotten all the RGs and the EIOs, but this one actually looks pretty decent. I like it. What I don't like about these, I don't mind the edges. The edges are pretty good.
The middle?
The bridge. Yeah, the bridge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it has an edge bridge on it, and they're pretty good. I like those. I don't know why, but I don't like those. I don't like how there you go. I don't like how the horns look on it.
That's okay. The only thing that this looks off is the middle where you see the wood.
Yeah.
It just doesn't blend well with the top,
Yeah. You know what surprised me though is the price. The price isn't bad. Yeah. So I saw that.
Yeah.
I thought I'd bring that up. That just came out yesterday, I believe. They released it. Let's see. Richard said, I also never been familiar with Ibanez, Trey from Morbid Angel, and Dino from Fear Factory are really ones supporting them.
I've owned a couple Ibanez guitars, and all the ones that I have are all great guitars.
Yeah. Oh,
I like the early, I'd still like to have like an Ibanez Iceman, an old Destroyer,
Yeah.
to have in the arsenal at some point, but
I think I missed this one. A question in my mind is, will the new Satriani one be the normal? Probably.
Yeah, we'll see if it's
Uh,
Japanese USA.
he said it could be a $7,000 special one. Yeah, I mean, the price point of some of these guitars are just unbelievable.
Yeah,
Music Man's the same way, you know. Well, I mean, ESP's there too. Everything's up there right now.
yeah, yep,
Um, so I talked. I think Richard and I talked about this a little bit. That Edwards, and I think I was still whining about it to you on the phone yesterday. Man, I don't know why that rubbed me wrong, but I guess because I bought my first LTD, as we know, the 1987, and I got that about the same time that Edwards came in, and I looked at the quality just kind of like side by side, and
yeah. From what I understand, Edwards is like the next step up after the LTD. You know,
yeah, the price wasn't the next step up.
yeah, but yeah, I don't have any experience with the Edwards. Curious, though, after especially after what you told me.
Yeah, it was good, and I guess for me, it's like, you know, I sometimes I feel like companies will make things better for certain areas in the world, and they just think that some other places are going to accept it, you know. And I think they're like, well, the American companies have already conditioned the American buyer to go get a setup immediately when they buy something brand new.
And ESP, they have so many different like you have LTD, you have Edwards E2, which is
Yeah,
ESP standard.
yeah,
It's just ESP standard guitar, and which I still don't understand the name change. I really don't get it. I don't think it was beneficial to change it to E2, but who am I?
yeah, right.
Say, uh, then you have which I heard are amazing guitars. It's called the Navigators.
Mm,
So it's made by ESP. They're pretty pricey too. So they're basically Fender and Gibson copies to the T. It's just but they only can make them in Japan, obviously, because it's sued by
yeah,
Gibson. But I heard these guitars are better than any Gibson,
yeah,
or
yeah.
Fender. So they have Navigator. Oh, they have I think one that's even below LTD, which is Grassroots, and they're like really cheap guitars.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's also the ESP brand, you know.
right. Well,
So
and I wonder how people that are watching feel about like Harley Benton and Tuman and all them. The guitars at low level that we see coming in now, how they feel about those because they're kind of competing at this point. And that I think that kind of I mean, even though it's a good company, we've talked about them before too, but if that doesn't muddy the waters a little bit, let
mhm.
me get the Cosmic up here. I highly recommend against anything with Ibanez Edge 02 bridge. The fine tuning knobs are very loose and wiggly. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Some of the edges are good. I've had a lot of edges in here, and let's see. They spoil a lot of their nice. This is when we were talking about the LGD more affordable models with it. Kind of like how Schecter spoils a lot of its models with Floyd Rose special bridges. Yeah, and you know what? I'm curious to see when they. I mean, now it's weird because it seems like we have Floyds, we have Floyd specials, we have Floyd 1000s. Now we're going to have an American-made Floyd. I mean, at some point, like, what is the difference? And when you and I, it kind of doesn't really make a difference with us because I don't give a damn what the Floyd is that we get. As soon as it comes in,
Well,
we tear it apart.
um, like for instance, the LTDs are usually like a SE, I think, or something like that,
Okay,
or is SE. So I don't have the one that you have on your Reverend. I don't have
the
a Floyd.
1000.
Yeah, that
That's what came in on my LTD too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The same one. So,
Oh, wait a minute. No, it's slightly different. It's the same, but slightly different.
so all the differences that I found with the German Floyd or American USA Floyd compared to, I guess, like the Korean ones. Uh, I don't know. Maybe like some of the hard, like this. I don't know what you call it, the fine tuners or something. Maybe
Yeah.
little less is good or whatever, but they're still solid. You just put some FU tone parts in there, and you got yourself a really,
That's
you
what I
know,
said. We always rip them
rich.
apart.
Yeah, but I do notice a difference, slightly differences.
All right, let me catch up on I need to figure out where we left off. Nice. All right, we got that one already. Got that one. Fender is doing that now too whenever they slap a double locking system on a Strat, right? I think, my opinion is Fender should just say to hell with it and throw Vega trims on all of their. Why not? Like,
Yeah,
because that's what everybody gets those and are like, hey, I want to use my whammy bar. It's like, okay, then take their bridge off and get a Vega.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Alex, have you tried the Tube Screamer or any modded version?
Uh, tried the Ibanez Tube Screamer. Is that what you mean?
I think the Tube Screamer pedal, right?
Oh, I've used Tube Screamers pretty much all the years I've been playing guitar for the most part. I had a Tube Screamer. Yeah, I like the boost on for leads sometimes, and I'm not the biggest fan of putting like anything with distortion or drive over a gainy amplifier. I think it kind of gets in the way, but if there's one pedal that can get away with it, it would be the Tomb Screamer.
Yeah.
Now, I also heard a lot of good things about, which I've not tried, the Maxim. They have like the Maxim version of Ibanez Tube Screamer, which I hear are even better. I know, the Cannibal Corpse guys use them because I remember one night on tour, I was just like, because I'm not the biggest fan of Mesa Boogie rectifier amps, and so I was just like, man, they don't sound like rectifiers, and they're like, oh, we're using the Maxim pedal, which is like the Maxim version of the Tube Screamer. But that's just, I don't know. Everybody has preferences, but I'm not a big fan of putting a gainy pedal in front of an already high gain amplifier.
Yeah.
That's just a question. I don't know.
Ian,
The Tube Screamer you can get away with. Yeah.
more affordable models and brands means more people will get into it. Grassroots had an Aero model.
Yeah.
That could hopefully mean more kids.
Yeah, for the young kids,
Yeah. Let's see. Charvel essentially also Fender, yeah, is able to put Floyd 1000s on their cheap models, which is nice. Yeah, and I got so that I'll have to read. I know there's a 1000 on that Reverend, but it's different. Remember, because I complained about the fine tuners.
Yeah, those are different because I don't, any of the Floyds I have, it's it's like they're all the same, except for some are German, some are Korean, or
But I think the one that came on my LTD was a 1002, if I'm not mistaken. And but it's different. That one on the Reverend is. I know I've griped about that enough. That thing drove me nuts.
Let's not remind you of that.
What's that? Why can't Fender? Let's see. But maybe only people will look for a Charvel would care about this. Yeah, and there's some people that are more into Charvels than, and I see this a lot. They like Charvels, but don't necessarily like Fenders. Kind of same company. Mason is, my opinion, the best tube screamer.
Okay, I have to check that out.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me look over. So I know we're at about almost an hour and 10. I told you so we talked a little bit about Maxon.
Mm-hmm.
The Maxon, he said.
Yeah, the Maxim. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
I was getting ready to Google Mason afterwards. I was like, okay, I have to
You
figure
know,
out what.
Rob and Eric from Cannibal Corpse were using the Maxim in front of their rectifiers, and that's why I was kind of like, they don't sound like rectifiers, and then they're like, well, it's actually that Maxim that's doing the trick, you know.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I might have to hit you up, Ian, about one of them, and try it out. But
Two.
yeah.
Two beggars. No, so I told you we just talked about my LTD. So I'm gonna take out, it's hum single, and I'm gonna take out the passive and put a Fishman modern, and then the single. So go hum single with it on the
Oh,
Fishmans.
oh,
Get ready to
nice.
do that, and so I'm gonna do a couple things with that. Because it's a good demo and it's something good to talk about. I mentioned it while you were gone. So I've been carrying the GravTech unlock nut, so you
Hmm.
can get rid of the locking nut.
Hmm.
In But you have to have locking tuners. So I'm getting ready to order locking tuners for the LTD, and I'm going to try that out as a demo. The other thing is, so I've done a lot of Fishmans, as you know. I'm a dealer, and but I've never put it, with the exception of the Greg Koch on the Telecaster. Yeah, there
You
you
got
go. So that's exactly what I'm going to do to mine.
yeah.
So gold, I got gold because it has gold, a gold Floyd on it, and it's white. So I'm gonna try, instead of tucking the battery in the electronics compartment because it doesn't have a battery compartment. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drill the hole for the place to plug in the USB to put the rechargeable unit that Fishman makes in it, because I haven't had a really good chance to demo that here in my shop or
They
here on the channel.
last a long time because I had
Yeah.
one guitar with this. Oh, if I can get it. Wow. If you can see.
Oh, that's right. You do have it in one. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you get a lot of hours.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try that. I mean, some of it is, if I don't, and I think this is anywhere, if you don't have something that people can see, then they can't imagine what it's going to look like in their guitar or how it's going to perform. And some people are just funny, like they don't want a little USB connector on their electric guitar.
Mm.
It was kind of odd to see that little USB plug-in on the output jack of a Telecaster. It is kind of weird to see that, but it's also better than having to tear it apart to get to the battery. So I'm
Mhm.
going to try that, and I'm also getting ready to do. So my order just came in today. I'm getting ready to do an install for somebody on a Schecter with a. Why can't I think of the name of it? It's so hard to think of things when you're on here. Um, Sustainiac.
Oh,
Good
sustain.
grief.
Yeah, yeah.
Good grief. How? So he has a Sustainiac. It's a brand new guitar.
Mm.
Sustainiac and Schecter, Sustainiac in the neck, and an EMG. And I think he tried out the moderns and he likes the moderns. So we're going to swap out the EMG, which, as an installer, you have to sign a lot of paperwork with them, saying that you will only install things according to the way that the manufacturer says to install them. So I had
Mhm.
to kind of consult with them to make sure. But since the Sustainiac and the Fishman won't really come in contact with each other, kind of operate it, you have two different pots and they operate separate of one another, that they're cool with me doing that. So that's a project that's getting ready to happen. It should be kind of cool to see how those two go together.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep. And let's go to Richard has a comment. Rectifiers have so much low end. I hated them till I learned to use a drive with the EQ. The Tube Screamers pair really well with them, but my favorite is the Peppers pedal dirty tree.
Yeah.
Say that 3
Yeah.
times.
It's funny we're talking about the rectifier. So on the Brazil tour, I had a choice. It was Engel, Marshall, and rectifier. And first night I plugged in the rectifier, and I just trying to dial in those things. It's just and it's the end of the day, it's preference. I have friends that just swear by rectifiers. I love them, but
Mhm.
for me, it's tough to dial them in, and it's very dry. And I was like, give me the Marshall. So I used the Marshall 900. That sounded fantastic. And I used that. Easy to dial in. And yeah, rectifiers, I don't know. It's like, it's very dry to me. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of low end, but it's just, I can't get the tone I want out of those things.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I skipped one of Richard. Just don't use a drive when use an overdrive pedal. Dial in the tone and level to taste. Then the Cosmic, when I was looking at Guitar Magazine 25 years ago, all the latest and greatest stuff was full of electronics and gimmicks. Now all that stuff is considered dated and cheap, right? Well, and I mean, there's some things, when customers come in and they're asking me questions, it's like, there are things that I don't know if there's necessarily a right or a wrong, but I always say, like, in my head, this is the way I think things should be. And you and I
Mhm.
have talked about, like, I'm a Fishman dealer. I love Fishmans, but there's something about using a Fishman Classic that's supposed to be a PAF. Then in my head, I go, then let's just use a PAF.
Mhm.
The other one that I use is people ask me about strings on occasion, several occasions, and they're like, "Well, what would you use?" And I don't know. In my head, for some reason, I think on a Gibson Les Paul, you use 1046s. I don't know why. I
Like,
just think you do.
I had one guitar with the Fishman Classics in,
Uh-huh.
and I love the way they sound.
Yeah.
I, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know, like I think they got a little bit more umph to them, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense, than say, Gibson PAF or something like that.
Well, but some people, and that's where I go wrong. And I like winding PAFs, and I like making them a little on the hotter side. But I'll have people that don't want that. They don't want them to be very edgy. They want them to be just normal.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and I've had them. They'll request. There's one in particular. He's like, I want it. You know, this particular resistance is what he was looking for, and that's all he was looking for.
yeah,
So some people just like that. And one thing about guitar people, they like what they like.
yeah.
Guitars with the tones of 56 classic guitars or whatever. He said it all exists, but it's not front end and center like it used to be. And then Ian said they don't know what they want. They don't know they want an overall PAF. It's okay. They'll learn, right. I personally like overwound PAFs, um, but not everybody does. And you know what? I think that's the cool thing about guitars is everybody has their opinions and they have what they like,
Sure.
and it's funny. We always talk about having our wives on sometimes. And
Mhm.
my wife, as you know, helps me with things in here and hears it all. And she coins a phrase like guitar guys just like what they like, and that's what they want, you
Yeah,
know? They
yeah,
like what they like, they know what it is, and I try to
yeah.
help them get that.
And then sometimes there's a certain magic in guitars where there's a certain combination of what's going on with the pickup and the wood or whatever it is, and we don't know. And if you sometimes take that ingredient out and put something
Yeah,
else in there, it kind of
yeah.
takes away,
Well,
from
and
whatever
I
magic's going on.
so I talked earlier about that Zion that I did, and that was a full rebuild. And
Hmm.
so I have to retract some of the statements I've made about EMGs. Remember with EMGs, I said I really only like the headset.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
I like the 5766 set
right.
because
But
it's just like the headset similar. Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
the 8185, I see a lot, and I always refer to them as ice picky or cliche, because they just kind of sound like they've always sounded. But so that Zion that came in, when we're talking about it, he says, "Hey, what do you think we should do for pickups?" And it originally had the 85 and the two single EMGs all active. And I said, I think we should put it back like it was when you originally had it. So we did that.
Mhm.
And when he came in and played that to test it out, it did not sound ice picky or cliche, but he's a phenomenal player. It sounded magical.
Mhm.
So I have to retract everything I've ever said negatively about EMGs. So
Yeah.
I guess they don't always sound like that.
Mhm.
So that was the 85 in the bridge and then SASA. And yeah, and you know what? Sweetwater got those for me. I ordered those from Sweetwater, my rep
Right.
from them. If Ian knows Dewey, he's my salesman. He hooks me. I missed his call yesterday, so I apologize to him. He hooked me up on those, and they sounded great, and the customer was happy. Hot take: Gibson destroyed all those robot Les Pauls. Good, because they were. Wait a minute, they were too good to release in those numbers. They hoarded all their own supply for their custom shop. Are we talking about the same ones? Celebrity Professional Rentals. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Maybe I'm thinking of Robo Tuners. Robot Les Paul.
That's what I'm thinking of. When it had like the tuners or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
think they're around too long if that's what he's talking about.
They weren't the ones that he rode over with the bulldozer during COVID, were they? Yeah, Ian said Dewey rules. Yeah, Dewey's a good guy, man. He's a big help. I feel bad because there was a customer here yesterday and he called. No, I think we were on the phone when Dewey called yesterday. And then I forgot to get back with him, but I emailed him and let him know I was tied up.
All my fault.
Good guy. He's a lot of help. What will happen when they give AI control of a guitar? Too late. I think they've done it.
Yeah.
I think they've done it. It'll make mine sound better.
Yeah, I want to check it out actually. I think I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Richard, where is it? We were talking about that earlier. Where is it? Where can
It's
we find it?
it's in Birmingham.
There are several Gibson Project
Oh,
Robo Tuners. I mean, the full robot Les Pauls. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm sure I've seen it. Let's see.
yeah. I remember those
Three
guitars.
levels of robotification that Gibson experimented with. So I can tell you, and this was a while ago, I kind of railed on this. So there was a time, and I don't know if these were the guitars where, and I think Strats did this. No, Strats. So one did dip switches. I think it was Gibson, had a PC board with these dip switches in it. I thought they were ridiculous, but that's because I like things that, kind of nostalgic. But then they had the Strats had the ones where it looked like a little PC board you could slide in and it would make, different tones. And I think once you get there, you just lose something. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Stream. Oh, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to catch that. Another one, somebody came in here yesterday talking about the Led Zeppelin one. It's on Netflix right now. I have to watch that too.
Yeah, I have to watch it.
I haven't seen that. I found the link. Let's see, and then we have the robotification isn't all good. Yeah, I don't, man, I say this a lot. I just, with Gibsons now, I just like Gibsons, like 4 CTS pots, 3-way switch, vintage pullback wiring and, you know, orange drop or a bumblebee capacitor. That's it. When I open them up and see a PC board, I'm like, what have you done? When I see dip switches, I'm like, God, a dip working on a dip switch in my case. Yeah, I don't know. They lost me during that era. I don't, something about a guitar with dip switches in it. Like if you want to play this kind of music, like open up the back and like flip these little switches. Yeah, I don't yeah, and I think feel like Gibson's now being run with a business strategy to pay off the CEO. Could be. But they did. So what? It was the last CEO, right? The guy that came from Levi's. He was the one that
he's gone.
Yeah. But it was that guy that came in and said, hey, we need to get back to making guitars like we used to make guitars.
Well, so I think the guy now is the Caesar guy, and I think he was kind of like the AR guy, and now he's, I don't know if he's the CEO. I don't know.
Is that the lawyer?
I think he's from like Argentina or something like that originally. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we, you know, Cosmic, I think sometimes we accuse ourselves of railing too hard on Gibson, and we deep down we both love Gibson.
Oh no, of course, love Gibson.
We love Gibson. I just don't like. I don't like some of the things. I actually got a cool Gibson in today, but I just don't like some of the things that they do. Like I don't like when you do crappy work and then say it's normal.
Yeah,
and they do that. They will tell you if you call there and ask them why something is. Well, they're all like that.
Yeah.
Jeez. Gibson CA. Oh my God. Yeah, there's so I got a I could go grab it. You got a second?
Yeah.
It's right outside the
Yeah.
I got a cool guitar in today. I haven't seen one of these. Well, I've seen something like it.
All right, let's check it out.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
All right, what do we got?
Yes, I'm still limping. I'm still walking with the electronic thing on my foot to heal my broken foot. Awesome. All these months later.
Huh. Okay.
Kind of an interesting guitar, huh? It's a Gibson.
Yeah. Looks like a studio, right?
Yeah, it's I think they made it in 2008. I mean, it's a beautiful guitar. They didn't make many. He was telling me about it today.
Nice.
Got it and brought it in and
again
cleaned it up a little bit. It's getting ready to get it set up. What's that?
A little burst on there.
Yeah, but it's before they went with, you know, it only has one F hole in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool guitar.
Yeah.
Just came in late this afternoon. He's pretty excited. He just got it last week, I think. So yeah, cool stuff. And you know what? And it's from that era of where, you know, you didn't have to worry about foul marks and all that kind of stuff in it. You know, nice guitar. So pretty cool to see. Ian has Alex, were there any cool local band on the Brazil date?
Yeah, there was actually. Pretty much almost every show was like that. It was kind of old school, you know, having like a local opener, and there were some cool bands that some really nice people too that we met. That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah. I think every show there was like a local band that opened up. So
right.
You know,
what do you think? What do you think the nicest place was that you visited there? The one at the beach looked really nice.
Yeah, and I can't remember where that was.
I guess it all kind of runs together.
Yeah, that place in particular that you're talking about, that was cool actually, because we're right, you know, there on the ocean. And first show I think was Fortaleza. and that was actually right by the water there, the city, where our hotel was. We could see, across everything. Was pretty
Right.
cool. But
Right.
yeah, it was local bands opening up. One of the bands is like, one of the two of them are like pretty old school bands that have been around for a long time in Brazil. Yeah, it was cool. Like I said, it was a different. It was kind of old school in the sense that some of the places we play was very intimate. So it's like
Hmm.
that high energy. The crowd's like right there and in your face, and so yeah, it was cool. It was just cool to play in some places we've never been, and like I said, how thankful the people were. Like, you came to
Yeah.
my home city, and
Yeah.
we don't get anything here, and so yeah, it was cool. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That's, and
a
Richard
while
had.
on tour with local acts. So,
Was there a different one in every city, like from that city?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
hmm yep, yeah. And the last one was probably the biggest one was San Paulo last show. What Richie fucking, it's amazing how Tony
Yeah. Right.
says.
Yeah. Before, well, we talked right before you left. We talked about that song "Rumble" and the beginning of Distortion, like cutting up speakers and poking holes in the speakers and
Yeah,
all that.
like the Kinks did with
Yeah.
speaker.
Ant manufacturer actually said no at the time. Isn't that funny? That's crazy.
What did they know?
Yeah, yeah. There was something else I was getting ready to say. I forget what it is. Must not have been important.
Yeah.
What else you have? Anybody else have anything before we? Man, we've got a lot of people hanging tonight.
Uh,
Well, I wanted to talk about like upcoming shows. We have somebody next week. We're gonna
yeah,
start having some guests again.
yeah. So I'm also just throw it out there. So next week we will have my friend Rustin Gross, who is the drummer of Skeletal Remains. He also plays drums from Master from time to time, and yeah. So Rustin will be on next Thursday night, and our first interview in a while that we've had somebody as an interview. So
Right.
so it should be really cool. Rustin is a multi instrumentalist, a master at everything he plays, whether it's guitar or drums.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. So he's pretty busy too. I know he's got. Well, he can obviously talk about it. He's got some really great tours coming up, and he was actually in Brazil right before I was there.
Right. Right.
And he got sick too, I heard. Thanks,
I think
Rustin.
I think he left it on the bus for you.
I think he did. You know, so
And, we're
yeah,
gonna try like, we're trying to set up a couple other ones. I won't mention her name yet, but there's,
yeah,
talked about her before. She's local here and, maybe, not gonna be so local here, pretty soon, but
mhm,
big on social media, big around this region, from here to Richmond and down to Nashville. Really talented young lady. So have her. Then we
yeah,
found out that there is I don't want to necessarily mention this band, but it's a death metal band that's pretty famous. Their guitar tech, it's apparently our neighbor. He reached out to me through Instagram. So I'm going to try to get him on when they're not on the road. I don't think they're on the road right now, but it may not be much longer. So we have him that we're going to get lined up. A lot of good ideas for a lot of good guests coming on.
yeah,
Richard's going to be on in a few weeks, I would say. We'll get
mhm,
some topics going with him. Let's see, we have a couple more that kicked up, and then we'll bring it to a close. I wonder if enough new guitarists are born every year to allow for the continuous sale of new guitars to the point where, I was making sure this, to the point where companies can continue to grow. Secondhand sales must be their worst enemy. You know what? I think. Do you think there's more players now than there were like when we were younger?
I think
A
so.
lot more?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there's more guitar players, and even where it used to be, you know, mainly male rock and metal guitar
Right.
players, a lot of women out there that are, you know, amazing players that are
Yeah.
out there. And yeah, I don't know. I've been hearing rock is dead and all this kind of crap for decades now, and I don't see any end in sight. I think people still love live music, and yeah, and people like to create, and and I think it's needed. It's much
Yeah.
needed for
You know,
therapy, a lot
and
of ways.
I think not only is it not dead, I think, especially I see a lot of younger players now because they probably see us on here, and see me doing a lot of different tuning, so I'm getting a younger clientele, and it's interesting to hear the music they're listening to is getting harder now. It's getting harder, it's getting more extreme,
Hmm.
um, and less of that, looped music that you hear in the pop arena, you know? Yeah, what's that? I told you you kind of shook your head at a couple weeks ago. I had a little dude come in here a couple weeks ago. I forget how old he is, but he's not, I think 12, 14, something like that. He said his
Hmm.
favorite band is Acid Bath. So, yeah, I mean, these kids are, they're harder, and that's old stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I would say there's just there's so many players out there, and guitar companies. There's a
Yeah,
zillion guitar companies out there. I mean, there's some custom shop builder somewhere that's, I always like, be checking out Instagram, and I'm always nerding out the guitar stuff on there and checking out stuff. And I always kind of discover some new guitar company or some cool luthier that's out there building some, you know, great guitars. And
yeah,
so yeah, there's so much stuff out there. There's probably more bands than there ever was,
yeah.
so yeah, I would argue that,
Well,
you know,
and I guess the reason I said, "Do you think there were more back in our era?" is because, in my mind, there's more electronics in music now. So I was thinking maybe there's fewer. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of guitars out there. That's why I always say, like, guitar techs, you don't have to be very competitive because there's a lot of customers out there. There's a lot of guitars.
I think, there's there's peaks and times where things go down a bit, things are less popular, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I think in the end of the day, it's just like you know, bands. Like there's certain bands that are hot 1 minute and they're gone the next. And I think it's like the genuine stuff that kind of stays the pace, and
So let's do something while we work through. So everybody in the comments and us, let's
Mhm.
throw in the comments while I read through the comments and work through those with Alex. The best guitar maker right now, in your opinion. So, and then we'll catch that. We'll revisit it at the end after if they throw it in the comments.
The
Uh,
best guitar maker right
best
now?
guitar maker right now, I
Well,
think, for the money, for the money.
you
Like
know,
you could say the best guitar maker, but it might be 30 grand.
I'm an ESP guy, and so that's what I like.
Okay.
The guitars, uh, the way they make guitars, and I played some like really high end ESPs that are just ridiculous. So, you know, personally, for me, it's ESP, but I think PRS are great company. I think still Fender, Charvel and Jackson, their high-end stuff is still the USA stuff or Japanese stuff is great. What do you can't knock Gibson, Gretsch. I think Gretsch makes great guitars.
Okay.
Uh, I'm trying to think of it, yeah, I mean there's a lot of great stuff out there, you know.
All right.
Um,
So you didn't have one bet. Well, ESP is your best.
I mean, that's in the end of the day, it's preference too of what feels right in your hands. But you know, ESP, I don't have to like fight the guitar. Like I can get what I want out of it. If that makes sense.
All right. So Ian says, and I'll work back to the other comments in a second. ESP and all variations of it.
Yep.
It's hard to choose. Maybe high-end Yamaha. I wasn't looking for that, or Gibson that actually was made properly, right? Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to qualify that one.
Yeah.
You know, my Gibson we talk about it was made properly. It's a pretty damn good Gibson. ESP and Gretsch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Rich has, for the money, I agree. ESP LTD. I'll give mine Kiesel, hands down, I think. Because I said for the money too. So you think Kiesel, and I know Jeff Kiesel isn't everybody's cup of tea. You know, I like that kind of attitude. You know that. So the meaner the better. But and I just think it's business, you know, it's just business with him. It's not personal, I don't think. But I think an American-made custom shop, basically made to order guitar in that price range, nobody can hang with that. You couldn't get that. You couldn't get a Fender Strat custom shop. You definitely couldn't get a PRS made like to spec. It's going to be $8,000. So, and I mean, you could get a decent Kiesel, you know, 4,000 or under, custom made, and like pretty high end, I think. Just my opinion. But I also like, I mean, I told you, I like PRSs. I like.
But there's some guitars that I have not played that look pretty amazing. Like, I think it's the Italian guitar company, Paoletti or something like that. And then there's like Deluxe tones. I'm really curious about those guitars. Chub tone, which you've had experience.
Chub tones, yeah, they're good.
There's some small.
There's a lot of ones out of there, and that, I think that. So I was trying to say like the best one for the money. Like you could pay.
I would say ESP.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could go out there. I mean, the ones that Jeremy plays, the Hawk guitars, those look like really nice guitars. And they're handmade. That man makes some really good guitars up there. And there's a lot of private makers that make really good guitars.
Yeah.
So I was just going on like the factory-ish kind of thing.
There's so much stuff out there now. But that's the thing too. There's more competition too. So if you're going to start a guitar company,
yeah,
kind of like having.
He was not expecting Kiesel. You know what? And before that, so I have a Kiesel out here that's been here for a while now, waiting to be picked up, and it's Koa, has that Kaler Killer on it that they didn't no longer make. Man, that thing, that's an older guitar, and that thing is still great. I just recently had a Carvin, and Carvin is Kiesel, had a Carvin bass that is phenomenal. So, you know, they've been a good company for a long time. They're just a little different now, I think. But I mean, you talk about, you know, and you also talk about like quality control issues. But I also, you know, nowadays it doesn't seem, you know, we talk about ESP a lot, but it seems like they're kind of scarce. You don't see them too much. Yeah, ESP. See a lot of LTD, ESP LTDs.
Because that's the price point, you know, you're talking about. So, you know, not many kids have $3,500, $4,000, $5,000 for an E2 and then even more for a custom shop ESP, you know? So, you know, obviously it's just like probably see more Epiphone than you're going to see a Gibson, you know?
So. You know, it's, well, and you see what comes through here, and we talk about it. Like I get a lot of high-end guitars, but if they're higher end, it's like a custom shop Strat or PRS, a lot of those.
I mean, when I'm on tour, like say if you're, you know, even at festivals and stuff, I see, especially in the metal world, I see tons of ESP LTD. Probably I see more than anything. You see a lot, you know, Ibanez too is something that you see a lot out there. Jackson, Charvel still, you know,
Oh, Jackson. You know what? And Jackson is like a late arrival for me. I don't know why. I wasn't on the scene of that too early.
When I was a kid, you know, the guitars that got me completely obsessed, and which was the benchmark of all guitars, was Jackson and Charvel.
Yeah.
That was like, you're talking the early 80s, and, you know, obviously Eddie played the Charvel, and you know, Randy Rhoads, and, you know, all these guys that were coming out at the time, but those guitars were just kind of like, you know, it's kind of like Excalibur or something, you know, getting a hold of one of those guitars. It was like a magical thing. And obviously, you know, the guitar company grew, and maybe some of the quality went down a bit, and some stuff. But yeah, I mean, Jackson Charvel was like,
yeah,
to get one of those guitars was a big deal. I remember, you know, guitarist in Shadows, Henny, he got a probably right around that time, it was the 85 Jackson Rhodes. And I remember going around his house hearing that he got it, and he pulled that guitar out and showed to me. This was probably around 1985, I'm thinking. And it was just like, oh my God, that is a Jackson Rhodes, you know, it was a big deal. So I guess if you're around back in those days of you know, Charvel and Jackson kind of made the first hot rodded guitars, really. In a sense, you know, with the compound radius necks and all that, you know, all that stuff.
You think we're seeing, and Ian, I guess you'd be a good one to ask this too. You think we're seeing a resurgence in like Jacksons? Because I'm seeing more in here now.
I don't think it's ever gone.
I always see Charvels though.
Maybe in the 90s, you know, you saw, you know, with grunge and all, everybody wanted to play like the traditional Fenders and Gibsons, but I think over time the hot rodded guitars kind of made a comeback with the younger generation. But, yeah.
Jackson has some tempting models, but they commit the sin of putting junk Floyd Rose imitation on otherwise nice guitars. I'm noticing a trend with McCosmic. he's like me. He's a Floyd snob. See the availability of gear. Yeah, I mean it's limitless. The things you can do with guitars now.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and you know, remind me. I have an Ibanez out here I want to talk about, and comparing it to Strats. They make you pay an extra $2,000 for an upgrade and a bridge. It costs maybe. Yes,
that's true. Yeah,
yeah, that's. And we know that. I mean, like we both said, when we don't care what we get, we tear it down anyways and rebuild it. I love the comments about how way more players now. That's awesome perspective. Yeah, and younger, and there's more things like you know, we talk about School of Rock a little bit on here, and those are things that I wish was around when I was a kid. You know, we didn't have that.
No.
So, I mean, these kids are out there, you know, a couple months after being in that program, they're performing already. That's awesome. Let's see. And you know, absolutely, they snag some of the great artists, so younger kids are seeing them. They're making cool stuff, so people who would have been around are coming back. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of that. You know, I was talking about this. So I have a Strat style Ibanez in here, and just kind of comparing things on that to like a Stratocaster. And you know, they do. You know, my one Strat that I modified, like delete the one tone and have a master tone and move the volume down out of the way and glow in the dark dots and all that. This thing has it. Like Ibanez Strat style guitars are glow in the dark, the aluminlays, and you know, good bridges on them and all that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering. I guess sometimes some of the guitar companies get caught into the nostalgia, like because there are going to be guys that won't buy it if they change, you know. And I'm probably one of them. You know, it's like if it didn't like it always was, then I maybe don't want it. But then you have another line that is more like those, like with the newer features, which I think they're trying to do. But there's other things like I still don't understand why you need one tone that controls one tone that controls the other. It's just in the way. And everybody has you, well, a lot of people have you move them. So what else you have?
That's pretty much it, I
Yeah,
guess.
this was a fun discussion tonight.
It
We
was
appreciate everybody joining us.
yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. And yeah, it's been about a month for me, I think, something like that. So it's nice to be back.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody, if you're watching in the United States, make sure you have a safe holiday tomorrow and come home with all your digits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, like be careful with the fireworks.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Have a great happy 4th weekend. And yeah, and we'll see you guys here next Thursday night.
yep. Thanks for joining us. Take
All right.
care.
Have a great night.